start. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to join our today's webinar. This is a 2023 fall Nebraska World Language Guest Speaker Series. And today we are very happy and honored to have our speaker, Xue Qin, and her talk is about scaffolding strategies to strengthen literacy skills. And we also want to let you know that our next speaker is Renee Jones, and her talk is empowering parent-teacher partnerships, building bridges for student success. And that will be October 21st, and Central Time 10 to 11:30, and Eastern Time 11 to 12:30. And after that, we'll have Sarah Hopper to talk about bring breaks in the world language classroom. That will, that one actually, sorry, this one, we already have September 30th, so this is the earlier talk. Okay. And after that, on October 25th, 3:45 to 5:15 Central Time, or 4:45 to 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time, will be the talk by Martha Thompson. And her talk is on how to make effective and lasting change in the language classroom. Okay, so and next we'll mainly go to our today's talk by Xue Qin. And let me just briefly introduce our speaker. Xue Qin was born and raised in Xi'an, China. And she has developed a special taste, not only for its food, but also for the cultural richness of this historical city where the Silk Road started. This is Qin's 11th year of teaching Chinese immersion in the state of Delaware. She was the K-8 Chinese immersion resource teacher at the Caesar Rodney School District, Delaware. Prior to joining the school district, she taught first grade Chinese immersion for 5 years. She currently serves on the Delaware Council on the Teaching Foreign Language Board. Qin was named the 2017 Allen Freer Elementary School Teacher of the Year and the 2022 Delaware DECTFL Teacher of the Year. Qin has hosted trainings and provided resources for incoming Chinese and Spanish immersion teachers in her school district, and also dual language immersion teachers in the state of Delaware. Okay, so let's welcome our speaker, Xue Qin, okay, for her talk today.
谢谢刘老师. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, I'm gonna go ahead share my screen, and we're gonna go ahead and start. All right. Okay, can anyone give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen with the slides? Yeah. All right, thank you, 刘老师.
All right, good morning. Maybe the slide, the presentation.
Oh, yeah. Mode. Okay. All right. Hold on, I'm gonna. Okay. All right. So now it's full screen. All right. Good morning, everyone. 大家早上好. So thank you very much. First, it's a Saturday, and I know some of you are in China, so it's also the weekend. So thank you, everyone. So I'm really happy today joining the Nebraska Department of the Department of Education for the World Language, and hopefully the things we are going to see today gonna benefit you and your students. So first, I know this is a Saturday. So everybody get up early for this. So first, if you can quickly put in chat, just wondering, let's start with something little, but something fun. What is your favorite activity in the fall? What is your favorite activity to do in the fall? It can be by yourself or with your loved ones. If you can, anyone quickly put in the chat, just wondering. And I will share with you what is my favorite really quickly on the next slide, all right? We're gonna take about a minute. If anyone is interested, you can put in the chat. So I'm going to put in the chat the question, what is your favorite thing to do in the fall? Oh, thank you. Yes. Yes. Holiday, yes. Thanksgiving gathering with family, with friends, walking in the neighborhood.
加油吧！
加油啊！
All right. All right. Hopefully we're seeing more chats come in.
丢垃圾还得咱俩。
Anything about, okay, harvesting, garden fruits, nice. That's a part I really need to learn. I'm really bad at gardening. Absolutely. It is actually, so I'm actually right now in Delaware. It is raining today. It's a cloudy Saturday. So we actually don't have the sun, but definitely yes. To be in the sun, have more time, outdoor time. All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So I'm going to share what is my favorite thing. So let's see. All right. So my favorite is to paint pumpkins in the fall. This is my favorite. Every year I try to pick a theme, the character I like. So those are the pumpkins that have been painted in the past years. My favorite, I like all of them, but my favorite is Squidward, just that face. That face is my student face sometimes in the classroom. So I like different ones. So I haven't think what I'm gonna do this year, but yes, pumpkin. Definitely need some pumpkins for the fall. Oh, thank you. Okay, I see the message in the chat. Thank you, thank you. All right, so we're gonna get into today. Our topic is scaffolding. All right, so first I'm gonna give a quick overview of the Delaware Dual Language Immersion Program. So we started actually in kindergarten, but the reason why I put the first grade, because that's where I started. So I taught 5 years of first grade Chinese immersion. We start with novice level, as everybody knows, is memorize short phrases, and then memorized Q&A question stems, and then the list of the very basic Chinese characters. And then as our students move on, when they get to 5th grade, we're getting to the intermediate made. Some students get to intermediate high, and here is where we see strings of sentences, and they are using the sentence connectors, and students start to create language, not just by using the memorized sentence starters, and they're asking their own questions. So, and then our students in Delaware for the dual language immersion program, they continue to middle school and then get to high school. Students start to take the AP Chinese courses. So that's our a quick overview of our immersion program in the state of Delaware. All right. Okay, so for today, we're going to talk about scaffolding strategies. So we have 4 big parts. So we're gonna have the sensory supports, graphic supports, interactive supports, and verbal and textual supports. So here are the 4 main big focus we're gonna cover today. And hopefully, anything we share today at the end, we will have a Q&A time where feel free to post your question in the chat later. And if I don't see it, we will definitely have the time at the very end. We will have about 15 minutes, and I will go through the chat and to answer any question you guys have. All right, so first we're gonna start scaffolding strategy that focus on the sensory supports. And I think especially this part is for our, our student who start, a lot of, as far as I know, for middle school and high school students who are taking the language courses, a lot of them didn't have that experiences before. So they start fresh, they start new. I think even that sensory support, not only for little kids, but even for our high schoolers, I think it can make a difference, make them interested in learning the language. So there are 3 main focuses. It's visual representations, physical movements and multi-sensory approaches. So this, I hopefully all those resources gonna help you and your students. So first, we're gonna start with visual representations. So here, since I have taught Chinese immersion, I know this probably not gonna apply to folks here who are today teaching other languages, but just some background knowledge about how we introduce Chinese characters. So start from the top here, Chinese character. We use a grid, so students have to start practice the character in a grid. So when we first introduce writing characters, they really need to know the components. So in Chinese, students need to learn the radicals. So radicals are part of the character. So by identifying the parts, which the radicals, it helps students to understand the meaning of the character. So here I put two pictures. The one on the left here, this part, it means your feet. So if students see a character with a radical, they will know the meaning of the character has something to do with their feet. And then the one on the right here, this is the part means the hand. So even if students don't know the actual meaning, but they can decoding just by looking at a radical. Any character with a part that has something to do with using your hand. So when we introduce writing the character, students first need to know the structure of the character. So there are characters that we can split into left and right. And then there are characters when you write, you have to do above and below. And then there are some characters you have a part inside, you have a bigger part outside. So by knowing the structures, it really helps students to visualize how the character should be written in this square grid. And the other part is the ratios. So the ratios, it means for Chinese character, some characters, they are split into two parts, like the one on the bottom left corner here. It's about 60-40% of the left part and the right part. And then for the character in the middle here, we actually have three parts. So students need to start to building that ratio awareness. Like some parts gonna take a bigger space of the grid, and some parts gonna take less. So by when we introduce in the lower grids, we definitely are not telling students, oh, this part has to be 20%, this part is 40%, and that part is 50%. That's not how we tell the students. But as the year goes on, we really want students to build that racial awareness so they are able to see the differences among the character and be able to write better characters as the year goes on. And the last one here, we can see it's a top, or you can call above to below structure, where it's about 50-50%. So this, by building this ratio, especially for, for heritage learners, I think they probably have a better understanding because of the family background and the home support. But for our student whose native language is not Chinese, so I think by knowing the ratio, by knowing the structure, really gonna help them to start building a solid foundation of writing. All right, so we're gonna continue with visual representation. So here, the first slide, we talk about. Oh, all right. So guys, just make sure you are mute yourself. I think some participants forgot to mute yourself. Thank you. So for this slide, we're gonna talk about the sound, the intonation, rhymes of Chinese characters. So for Chinese character with pronunciation, it's called pinyin. So for pinyin, we have three parts. We have the called initial, which is 声母, and then we have 韵母, it's the final, and then we have the tone. So in Chinese, when we see the words, see the characters, normally we say there are 4 tones, but actually there are 5 tones. So I know a lot of posters, they only post the 4 tone, but actually I think it's also important we emphasize there is another tone, which is the neutral tone or the light tone. It's called the 轻声. So for the tones, when we introduce the tones, we really want students to see that difference. So in the classroom, when we introduce the tones, we always ask students to have their hands up. And when we practice the character, we are using our hand to show how the tone are moved. So ma, 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 and then ma, that neutral tone. So when we introduce this with a poster, we also encourage students to always have their hands up. Even in 5th grade, I have students who are still struggling with the first tone. Sometimes they get mispronounced with the first tone and the 4th tone. So we make sure they are always using their hands to show the different line movements as they pronounce out the sound. And the other thing when we introduce pinyin, is we need to have a visual display in the classroom, not just having the basic poster here, like the pinyin charts. But the other thing I have been putting in the classroom is on my part of my word wall, I have a place where I post all the initials, the common or the really high frequency words that start with that initial. And then I laminate and put them like a flashcards. So on there, students have the word which start with that initial, and then they have an image to help them understand the meaning. So in the classroom, when students start to learn to review pinyin, they can take this flashcards, and then they can quiz each other or quiz themselves and to practice and review the pinyin. It's not just by display and the teacher point, student repeat, but more we want a student have more utilize of the resources in the classroom with it when they learn the pinyin. Okay, so next we're gonna continue. So first we talk about how to write it, and then we talk about to sound out the Chinese character. So now we're talking about how to really learn the meaning of the character and also be able to identify the character correctly. So here we continue with different visual representations we have in the immersion classroom. So first is we need to help the beginners to really start to build a connection between the meaning and the pictograph of the Chinese character. So here, I think a lot of teachers probably have already used this. So when we first introduce, we not only show the actual character, but we want to give them a pictographic interpretation of the characters. So for example, this character is shu. So shu means book. So here underneath here, students see the picture where it's a stack of the 2 books together. So just help them to make that connection of the meaning. And this is part of the word wall. When I taught 1st grade, I have this in my classroom, but this is not the only word wall. So I have different word walls. One part is the one we have the character with the picture, but then we have another word wall where it's just the solid characters. So that way we use them differently. The one with character is where we first introduce. But when we do formative assessment, that's where we point to the word wall where it's just having the character, not the one with the picture. So when we introduce characters, earlier we mentioned about radicals. Radicals are really important. So a lot of teachers, I think you guys already have something similar. We call it radical house. People have a square or a circle. So here where you categorize the different radicals. And I think to really connect students and make them to take that ownership, we also invite students as the year goes on, when they are reading a book, if they find any character that have the same radical, they can write it on sticky notes and then draw a small picture. And we invite students to put their sticky notes on the radical house. That way students take the ownership of learning more characters, and they are also help them to reinforce the understanding of the radicals. The other parts we do, which it's after I taught for 3 years, I start to notice students are, when they get to upper grades, they're still confused about a lot of basic characters. And I think a lot of times they know how to sound out the characters, but because the character look really similar, so it's really easy student gonna get confused about which character it is. So I started to build a list of the basic HSK, and also I look at the YCT test are the basic characters. And for the ones that are really confusing, I put them together and highlighted the radical or the parts to help students differentiate those characters. So we post those kind of posters in the room, and sometimes when we do a quick chat or a quick game, check for understanding, we will ask students to point to the correct character. So those resources we will share, I will share with all of you guys at the very end. You can download them and print them to share with your students. So for identification, I think definitely we can also have games. So here, these are visual representation I post in the room, but of course, we can also put those in games to help to ask the student to differentiate those characters by sounding out. Or for example, here I have Ming和Peng. So we can ask students to give us a short phrase. So to testify if they really know what's the difference. So Ming, they can say 明天, Peng, they can say 朋友. So if they can see the different phrase, that means they do know what's the difference. And by highlighting, we really tell students the differences. So as we move up to upper grades. So for lower grades, we start just introduce the single characters. And for upper grades, we definitely get more into a shorter phrase. And some of them are really abstract. So we definitely need to put pictures to help them to understand. And as you can see here on the bottom, we have the word wall, which we only have characters for the lower grade friends. And then for the upper grade friends, we have pictures. And then we highlight some of the 4 skill words or the characters. It's really hard for students to understand. So you can color code, but also have pictures. And I think the only other thing we need to be mindful, it's the size of the character when we print them out. So classrooms I have visited, and also when I first start teaching, I print out my word wall. The characters are really small. So when you actually put it in the classroom, when student sitting in the first row, or if students sitting in the back, and when they turn around trying to look the character on the wall, the size of the character are way too small. So it's not really helpful and it's not really functional when you display classroom. So we just need to be mindful, like the size of character need to be big and clear enough. So students are able to see it. Oh, okay. I just see my screen pop up said my internet is not stable. So in case if it happens, I logged out by accident because of internet, I will come back ASAP. All right. So now we're moving on to the second part of sensory support, which is physical movements. So this is, I don't want to say it's the best part, but especially for student motivation, we definitely need physical movements. And even for teachers, for myself, because for immersion, we teach 2 classes every single day. For the afternoon, it's not just the students, it's also myself. Sometimes I need a break. So physical movements is really gonna help to bring students back and to make them wake up when students get tired. So here I have some example about different subjects. So for science in 5th grade, here's an example. So we teach matter, so solids, liquids, and gas, and we talk about how the molecules are moving in them. So here, when we are doing this, introduce the concept of how the molecules are moving. So for solids, we will tell students they have to have their fists come together and get it really close to move around like this. So that's 固体. And for 液体, the molecules are kind of a little bit far apart, but not that far apart. So if you look on my screen, this is what we are doing with 液体. So the molecules in 液体分子. And then for the last one, for when the molecules in gas, they are really moving around, bouncing around really far apart. So that's what we have our hands are moving around. So by doing those kind of physical movements, help students to build a connection between the Chinese language with the science concepts. So the other thing we do for Chinese literacy, one of the activity, even for upper grade kids, I found they like it. It's a Chinese character body language. So when we have a brain break, I ask the student to work in a small group quickly to come up a word in character. So they have to acting it out with body language. Sometimes they have to borrow rulers or something. So here we have a friend made 米, so 大米的米, which means rice. And then the one in the middle is 文, 中文的文, so means language. So that's a character. So, and then the last one is actually really confusing. It took me a while. So it's actually 叶. So here you see it's a 口 on the left. And then on the right, you have the 石. So together it's leaf. It's a character for leaf, 叶, 叶子的叶. So that's one activity students really like. And one place I really found they have a lot of good character game. It's actually a lot of Chinese shows. If you guys watched, so one of them it's 好难. I don't know if anybody here have watched any Chinese shows. So in the shows, they actually have a lot of good games, and some of them are actually using characters. So that's where sometimes I watch those shows. And I get some ideas to use in the classroom. And it's better if students all wear dark clothes. It actually makes the character look more vivid. That's one game the kids really like, not just for little one, but for here are my 5th graders. So down here, this is another game. I got ideas during COVID when a lot of us were teaching remotely. So on YouTube, they have a lot of videos called Would You Rather, Would You Rather. So if you guys, any of you have seen those, it's like they have a question. Would you rather eat chocolate or would you rather eat ice cream? And then down there, with the 2 questions, they have 2 picture of physical activities students have to do to show their answer. So instead of saying the answer out, they have to get up and move, follow the picture. So that's where I got the idea of the Would You Rather game from YouTube. So the one on the bottom left here is actually created by my 5th graders. So at the end of the year, I always ask the student to create some game slides, so I will be able to use for the next group of friends come in. So here on the bottom, you can see I asked students to insert a GIF, which is a GIF, so the pictures with movements. So they pick the one they really like, insert here, and they put a question. So here the student put 你吃什么? So what do you eat? But they're not asking the English translation. They're asking the pinyin for that character. This is highlighted in red, which is 吃. So students have a timer. And then the timer gonna goes 2 rounds. For the first round, I'm not asking them to quickly acting out. I ask students to take the time to really think about their answer. And when this circle timer run for the second round, that's where I ask students to get up, and now you have to move. When you move, you have to follow how the character in the picture are moving. So they're doing some funny movements, but showing me their answers. So that's one of the games the students really like. And we made a tweet of the same game and put it in our math class. So here on the bottom right corner, you can see here is another game. This is our math content skills. So students learn about basic fraction and also connect to division. So we show the diagram, and then students have to tell me which expression. So they have to follow the picture here, the GIF, to do some physical exercise to show me the answer. So those are some physical movements we can do in our classroom. And I think some of this definitely can be applied to middle school, high school, and even students in college. Why not? All right. So next. All right, so we're gonna move to the multi-sensory. So a lot of this looks like, for little kids. Maybe a lot of teachers, if you have toddlers, maybe they have done some of this at home. But believe it or not, even bigger kids, they like stuff like this. So for multi-sensory, we have a lot of different ones, which I like all of them. A lot of them I actually use them during COVID when I was home with my own child, and he likes some of this. So we use Legos to build characters, and then you can use Play-Doh. Play-Doh is fine, even for upper grades. My kids really enjoy using Play-Dohs. And then down here on the left bottom here, so what we did is we use different materials and to build some characters, and then we use just big packaging tapes. We tape them, and then so students can actually touch them and feel the stroke. So that's really fun, even for the little kids, but also you can display them in the room and just don't take them down. That way, every year, the student can feel the character by just touching different materials. And on the right here, we have a different one. So traditionally, I believe a lot of us have already used this, the reusable Chinese character writing cloth with our calligraphy brush. So this is a really good tool to connect our culture with the character learning. But I have found some other ones that are also really fun for the kids. So here on the right, we have the aqua doodle, which is a lot of toddlers use at home. You can fill the pen with water and then they can practice. And down here, we use a sand. This, when I used in first grade, the kids really like it. So they like both the brush, but also like the tool we use in the regular English classrooms. So that's where we got the idea. So this purple bin inside, it's colorful beads. So students just use their hand to write in there. But the one on the right, the green box, it's a sand. So you can just get the really basic paintbrush from dollar store, and a packet of them have 7. So the brushes, you can fill in just the sand, color sand. You can get them from Michael's or yes, the craft store, and then just fill them up there. But I print out all my character flashcards and leave them in a Ziploc bag. So when students go into this center, they will take out the character, put them on the top, and then they can write in the sand. So those are some sensory approaches I have found really engaging, not just for little kids, but even for 11, 12 years old. All right. So we're just done with the first component of our scaffolding strategies today. Now we're going to move on to graphic support. So for graphic supports, we have 2 big parts. One is the charts, and the other one is the graphic organizers. Okay, so first with charts, a lot of charts I have used is really trying to teach students parts of a sentence, and also to teach them verb, adjective, but also being able to build longer sentences. So as you can see here, the 3 pictures are actually the same thing, but I'm just showing you how we can apply them to our novice learner, to our intermediate, and even advanced learners. Probably advanced, we need more complex. The complexity of the sentence, we definitely need to change them. But I think here we can see differences. So all of them are called sentence patterning charts. So this is actually adopted from GLAD strategy. It's a guided language acquisition design. So this is where I learn and I start to build my own. So here we're going to actually look on the right top corner, this smaller picture. So this is what you can introduce to your novice learner. So this is what I did in first grade. So I start to color code the parts of the speech. So we start with the subject and then with time. So you can see here we have 5 columns. The first column is green. So that's the subject. And then the second column is time. And then the third purple column is location. And then the red column is verb. And then the last column in blue, it's noun. So by color coded, I start to example to my to model to my students how we can see we can say a sentence correctly by following the grammar in Chinese. So the first sentence is 我晚上在家吃爆米花. And here it means I eat popcorn at home in the evening. So in Chinese, the order of the parts of the speech is different from English. And even for students get to 3rd, 4th grade, I hear they still making some common mistakes. We have students gonna say something like 我吃爆米花在家. So they like to put the location at the very end, which is correctly in English. But in Chinese, that's one of the common mistakes I have noticed in among students, the one I have taught when they get to upper grades. So that's where I think this sentence patterning chart really gonna help our students to really to be aware when you are saying your sentence in Chinese, you should follow the correct order. So for novice learner, we can start with the basic graph. And then when we move to upper grades, so the one on the left here, as you can see, I took a picture of the student work from the classroom. So this is actually a flip patterning chart. So student cut it and glue it in their notebook. So what happened is the one on the top here, as you can see the dotted line. So we cut them apart. So when students flip it up, they can see underneath there, they write their sentence by picking the word choices. So for each column here, you can see I give them a list of word choices. So students can pick the one they like. And then when they flip it up, they can write down their choices underneath. And then they will be able to build their own sentence. But also they have a list of the words they can choose from. Also help students to review and also expand their vocabulary. So this is one we use in the classroom for different sentence structure. So here the one I'm posting is a basic one. And then when we get to more sentence connector, for example, not only but also 不但而且 or if 如果就 so I put all those in those sentence patterning chart to help students to learn more Chinese sentence connectors, but be able to put them in the correct order. So down on the right bottom here, this is one I put in the slides when we review the sentence or introduce new sentence structure. So we have also have this color coded. And for this one, it's 有时候, so sometimes. So here we also trying to color code it. So and on my word wall, I also have the matched color code of the verb, the noun, the adjective. So that's where students can look on the word wall and pick the word choice to build their own sentences. So that's one of the chart has been really benefit. So here are some other different example, and also since I have created in my classroom, the only one I didn't create is this one. The one said 月亮, the moon. So this one I found an example, but it's similar what I have done in the classroom. So we're going to look at the one on the left here. You can see a lot of Disney characters and also have some animation, Naruto. So what I have found is sometimes students want to describe their friends. And also, if we think about our standardized test assessment, so the Apple test and then the STEM test. So for also not for the purpose of preparation, but I think things like this also help our students to prepare for those assessments. So they need to know how to describe someone, to describe the appearance and adding more details. So I trying to include different features from our students. So as you can see here, we talk about the eye colors. We talk about different kind of hairs. We have students with curly hairs, and we have different colors of hairs. And we also talk about the height, talk about the weight, but we talk all those, you know, we want to make sure students say it or type it, write it correctly, following the correct grammar, but also be able to really to provide details when they are describe someone. So here is just one of the anchor charts we have in the classroom to help students to build that language. And another thing we do is sometimes when you play games, so I will say the sentence, ask students to draw the character out, and then we compare. So that's one way we can assess their listening, but also from student drawing, we will ask students to describe each other based on the drawing at the end. Here on the right, on the top, we have an example of how we teach students to expand sentences. So be able to write longer sentences. So when we teach students to write longer sentences, we start with a short sentence. So here as an example, we start with 一个月亮, so a moon. And then we start to add color in there. So a silver moon, 一个银色的月亮. And then we add shape in there, 一个弯弯的银色月亮. So by showing this kind of charts, it helps students to plan ahead what's the sentence should be and what's the way we can scaffold them to eventually build a longer sentence with more than one adjective and has a corrective measuring words in there. But in order to do that, we do need to scaffold them by showing them some examples. So I think this is a good way if we want to teach our students to be able to say longer sentence, be able to write longer sentence in the correct order. All right, so for the last one on the bottom right corner here, it's where we talk about punctuation. So I think when we get to upper grades, that's where we students start to write or type longer dialogues, or even they start informational narrative writing. So punctuation is actually really important, even though it looks like a small thing. But when we get to upper grades, when we want to build that writing, we do need to introduce students and reinforce those punctuation. And especially some basic ones are different from English and Chinese. And one of the basic one, it's 句号. So in English, it's just a dot, but here we have the small circle. So in the classroom, not only we showing them the image of the punctuation, which a lot of them they know, because English, my partner teacher has already built that concept. But more is how we correctly use them. So I explain what's each one is. So 句号就是 here I said 表示一句话说完了。冒号在对话前面，邮件和信开头。So we model to students where do we use those? And then in our immersion programs, we use iChinese Reader, so which is an online reading book website. It has a lot of Chinese books. So I often pull out the books from the online iChinese Reader, and then we talk about the punctuation in there. And here I also put some example sentences to remind the student how you should correctly use those punctuations. So those are the, I would say, the more charts, the anchor charts, and we display them in the room. But for the one I know student need the most, I also print them in black and white, smaller one, and student have their own Chinese literacy folder. Everybody has one, so they can put those resources inside their folder. All right, so here with graphic supports, I have this quick slides of some example of classroom management. We definitely need a lot, doesn't matter if it's kindergarten or fifth grade or for middle school, we also need to continue reinforce. So for actually we have some finger signs we use in the classroom. So I think a lot of us have this, and maybe for high school students, they were like, we're not doing this. This is like little kids. So what I have noticed is instead of doing the thumbs up, thumbs down, or, like this, for high schooler, they may be like, this is little one, I'm not gonna do it. So we can actually take some popular dance from TikTok. Students really like to mix up. So you can use this gesture or, the dancing or the movement student like the popular one and put them as your signal in your classroom. So our ultimate goal is to motivate them and want them to participate. So you definitely don't just want the basic thumbs up, thumbs down, or I agree, I disagree. You can change them, definitely be creative with those. And the one I have found really useful is this one, the one in orange, like a circle goes around. So this means please repeat. This is what I learned after years of teaching. So a lot of time, students are afraid of people judging them because, oh, I'm the only one didn't get this, everybody else got it. So they don't want to ask, but just be quietly showing me this circling around symbol. It means please repeat. So I don't ask the student to have their hands up in the air doing it. I ask students do it in front of their stomach. So that way it's only showing me, and we are not asking everybody to look at them, putting them on the spot to make them embarrassed. So that's where I think this please repeat symbol can be really beneficial to our language learners. And the one in the middle here with all the minions, as you can see, I created this when I taught first grade because I love minions. So my room was the minions theme. So this one is a voice level. I have the English word. I also have the Chinese word, and I will share with all of you guys at the end. You can download this print. So when we show student the voice level, we use this in a small group discussion. We use this in a whole group. But just be mindful. You need to model them. What's the actual voice level? If you just say, all right, go ahead now. It's level 2. Everybody's speaking level 2. They are not really going to get it. You have to model what's that sound like. So at the beginning of the year, I model, and then I ask my student to say stuff in different voice levels, and students need to tell me, do you think it's level 1 or level 3? So you really need to practice and make them really be aware the correct voice level. And then the last one on the right here is social emotional learning, but also with classroom management. So here I have different picture with character of emotions. So worried or confused, tired, sad, disappointed, mad, happy, relaxed. So when students come in the morning, they have a clip. So I ask the student to clip how they are feeling about this morning. Clip it on the picture. So for anyone put it on, sad or frustrated, I will do a quick check-in with a student individually, just making sure. So before I start my day, I know exactly how my student feel. So here we're moving on to the graphic organizer. So here I have some writing graphic organizer sample. The one on the left is the informational text. So after we learned the book, it's Better Immersion, Better Chinese. That's the one I used when I taught first grade. This past 3 years, we for our upper grades, we have switched to Mandarin Matrix. But this is when I still taught immersion in 5th grade. So after we learned the informational text, students did their own research. They have to find a architecture really like, and then come up their own writing. So this is a graphic organizer one of the students typed in 5th grade before they started writing. So they in the informational text, they have the title. So this is the name of that architectural style from Australia. It's called Queenslander. So Queensland, it's also the name of that city. And then students have their beginning, have their ending, and also with the 3 subtopics. Here, the student takes the climate, why they build that kind of house in Australia, and then the function of the house. So for that kind of house, it protects you from flood, from heat, and from snakes or bugs. And then the last subtitle is the material you use to build that house. So this is one of the informational text graphic organizers students use when they start their writing pieces. And the one on the right, we use this when we did the animal research. So for the animal research, we talk about some parts of the animal, the vocabulary. We definitely front load those when we learned the, this is after we did our Mandarin Matrix book in the intermediate, it's an intermediate 1 book. So after that book, students did their own animal research. So this is a graphic organizer. We ask student working groups to fill this out before they start to create their book in Book Creator. So here we have more graphic organizer for reading. So the one on the left here, it's what we use for our Mandarin Matrix book. So the book is more narrative reading. So I talk about the group of students go to study abroad in China and what happened in there. So they are kind of like mini chapter books. So we talk about in narrative writing, we have the character. We talk about the location of the event. We talk about the time, when did this happen, and then what actually happened. So for these big components of narrative writing, we teach students those terminologies. So 人物、地点、事件、时间. And in order to differentiation for my struggling friends, instead of saying 人物、地点, we can say 有谁，这个故事里有谁。这个故事发生在哪里？这个故事里他们在做什么？ So instead of saying character, we can say who are they? And for the word location, we can say where are they? So this is just a small differentiation how we introduce these contents when we do the graphic organizers. And here on the right side, you can see here it's another similar one, but it's a more for the lower grades, we use it. So we use the books, online books, to start to practice students be familiar with these terminologies in narrative writing. So when they actually get into the book, they are more familiar with those terms. Here we have more graphic organizer for different subjects, and even for some class like crafts or practice after the lesson. So the one on the left is a very basic one for science class for first grade when we learn the weather. So we have to we observe the weather by different senses. So when you look at it, student can draw, or for for students who have the vocabulary, we encourage them to write a character. If they can just draw what they see and what they hear, how they feel, and did they smell anything. So those are from different senses. And then in the middle, it's a graphic organizer from our first grade math class. So we talk about the word problem, so 应用题. And then in first grade, when we learn add and subtract, we learn different ways. So we use the 10 frames. We have the equation. We have called the mass mountain, or I know some call number bound. So here we have different ways. So students have to create their own word problem. So here it said dad has 8 flowers, grandpa has 9 flowers. How many more flowers does dad have than dad? Oh no, how many more flowers does grandpa have than dad? So here we not only include the math skills in here, but also we encourage students to write their own word problem by using our Chinese our grammar, which is character B. So we are comparing. And then the one on the right is for 5th grade. So we are talking about where do we see numbers in our life, real life. So student, we have a craft where they talk about the numbers in their life. So here you can see they talk about the shoe size, they talk about their birthday, and then talk about the family member, their favorite book, how many pages. So everything about math, but we also embedded in the language pieces in there. All right, so next one we move on to, so we already talked about 2 components of our scaffolding strategy today. The next one is interactive supports. This is where we have the technology come in. The one we have seen is more, it's more reading, writing, listening, but more focused on without the technology. Here is where, I think for our upper grade students, we definitely have technology happening in our classroom every single day. And we want to embed more with Chinese. So here today, I'm going to focus on escape room. I don't know if some of you guys have actually played in escape room. Is there anyone who has played? If you can just give me a thumbs up, use the Zoom thumbs up, or you can give me a yes in the chat. Has anybody played any escape room? Yes. Oh, thank you. All right. I have seen people respond in chat. 谢谢. All right. So escape rooms are fun. And the one back home in China are super fun because you can wear different costumes and to be in different characters and to do in the escape room. So it's really popular, and that's why we want to have it even in our Chinese classroom. So escape room is a series of activities that require people to find clues, solve puzzles, and think logically. And you can work normally. So in the real one, if you go to a store to play the actual escape room, normally they will put you in groups. But in the classrooms, you can do it individually, or you can do it collaboratively in a small group. So the benefits of doing escape room is definitely boosting our students' motivation to learn Chinese. And also that curiosity is what's gonna push them to work together and to work harder. And then it's a good integration of all the language skill we need, the listening, speaking, reading, writing. And it's to push them also, they have to communicate, they have to talk to each other in order to solve all the puzzles, to win the game. So here we have 2 kinds of escape rooms I have tried in my room. One is the virtual escape room in Google Slides, in Google Forms, which is a little bit more time consuming. I shouldn't say a little bit more, it's actually time consuming. You have to build up your questions. And then the other one, it's also virtual, but it's from a website called Deck Toys. So I highly recommend just go on YouTube, search Deck Toys. They have a bunch of tutorials, which are, I think they do a better job. That's where I learned how to do my games. So for both of this, they actually have a lot of language tasks embedded in. So for the Google Slides, as you can see here, I build my own entrance page. So once it goes in, it looks like this, this room, and then you have a timer on there. So by clicking the clock, by clicking the couch, or the door, it actually takes students to answer different language questions in our books. So I put the question, reading comprehension question from the books we learned in Mandarin Matrix in here. And I would say the good thing about doing it in Google Slides and Google Forms, so the slides, it's just a visual appealing representation of the escape room. And then when they actually click the objects in the room, it takes them to Google Form. So Google Form is actually the place where students work together to answer the question. And after they finish, you can get pie charts or bar graph to show you how the student did overall. You can see the percentage. So it's also can be used as a formative assessment. Okay, great question. So I see people are asking, is deck toy is free. It is free, but they limited the number of decks. They call them decks in there. So one deck is one game. You can do the paid account, which give you more, you can create more classes with more decks, but definitely they have the free version. You can definitely use a free version to have at least a couple games. So I tried both of them. I actually like both of them. I would say deck toy is easier because they have pre-made decks from teachers around the world already. I think they started in Singapore. So you can find a lot of Chinese pre-made decks already in there. So down here, I have showed some sample questions in there. So you have the drag to match here, the question on the bottom here. You have to drag the sentence connector to fill in a blank of the sentence. The one in the middle is a matching game. So they have to matching the Chinese character with a picture or Chinese character with English, etc. And then the one on the right, this you can differentiate. So here, what I ask my student to do in there is look at the picture first, and then write a sentence and take a picture. So they have a camera too in there. You can ask the student to take a picture of their work and upload in there. They have at least 15 or 20 different versions of games. And one good thing about deck toy is you can actually what's the word? So you can actually, if you have Quizlet account, you already have Quizlet vocabulary list, you can just link your Quizlet word list into deck toy. And deck toy will automatically put them into games for you. So I think that was a good tool. It's similar like GameKit. I think you can copy your Quizlet vocabulary list and copy paste them in GameKit. So the game itself just help you to put them into different games. So both of those, I would say if you start, maybe try deck toy, because for Google Slides, you have to take more time to create your own question. But once it's created, you save it, you can use it every single year. Oh, did I miss a page? Yes. Okay, so for interactive technologies, the other one I really like is Book Creator, but this one is so expensive. I think 1 year is like 180 or something. Last year, they were really nice. They had a beginning of the year sale. It was like $66, which was really nice. So I got it. That's why I used a ton of them. But this year, they backed into the normal price. So I'm trying to get on that Book Creator ambassador. If anyone here, you are a ambassador for Book Creator, you know the benefits because you get that teacher premium account, which is really nice. So Book Creator, definitely, I love it. And I think one of the good feature about Book Creator, not just create your own books, but you can also publish the books on Book Creator by getting the parents' permission. And the student actually comment on each other's book. If teacher, you change the setting of your Book Creator class. So after everybody are done the books, you open it to just public within your class. So students can actually look at each other's book and give peer feedback. So that's one of the process we do in class. So after they think they're done with the book, we have one more, it's where we have the peer review and the student can comment. So they after that process, they will make more, they make more small changes on their book to make it better. And then we share this with parents. So it's another way to connect parents to know what's happening in our classrooms, and students are proud of their product at the end. So here are the example we did in class. So we did a cultural comparison, but also learning about the student ancestor. So some students said their ancestor from Germany, from France. So students did the books to compare the countries, but also introduce the places or the food, talk about school in both countries. So this is the book they did. And on the right, the other app or website I really like is Edpuzzle. So Edpuzzle also already have a lot of, I shouldn't call it games, I should call it tasks already created by Chinese language teachers. And I think the good thing about Edpuzzle is you can use it for listening comprehension, and also reading comprehension. And I like how you can pause the video at any time to embed it in the question you want. So I use this for listening comprehension, and also when we, in the past years, when we prepare students for the Apple test, so we put in conversations, either I recorded or I have some other teacher recorded, or we pull videos from YouTube, and then we pause them every other 10 or 15 seconds to embed in a question to help students to practice or prepare them for Apple test. Because for the Apple listening and speaking test, it is timed. So students need to get them used to speak clearly, but also in the limited time. So this is a really great tool. And also when we start to learn Pinyin, I have found in Edpuzzle, they have a lot of teachers already use the YouTube video to use them to ask student practice their listening comprehension for Pinyin. They have multiple choice, true or false, or fill in blank questions. So it is a great website where students gonna practice a lot, but teacher can get great feedback based on your student results. So here we're moving on to the last one, 15 more minutes, guys, and then you guys are done. The last one, the verbal and textual supports. So here we're gonna focus on two parts, which is the sentence starters and also the level of the questioning prompts and the cues. So we want to have differentiation to meet the needs of the different proficiency levels of students in our classroom. So for sentence starters, we want to have different kinds of sentence starters to help students to participate in different activities. So for the first one, the conversation starters. So this one, we can use it in different kind of tasks. Those are basic. So I have the English version and the Chinese version. So you can print them double-sided. That way students have a cheat sheet on the back for the English, but they also have the Chinese. But in my class, we don't print the English one. We just print the Chinese one. But I send both of this home so parents can have another resources at home to help students to review or reinforce. So here we have some basic one. I agree, I disagree, I think, I notice, I see, or I want to ask. I don't understand. Please explain. Does this help? Does this remind you of something else? So those are some common sentence starters students need in daily communication in the classroom. And then the one in the middle, the picture walk sentence starters, those are very, very basic, but I think we always use them, especially when we do picture walk or just when we first start with our novice level learners. They need that really basic sentence stems. So the first one, I notice or I see. The second one, I understand or I know something. The last one is I want to ask. So I think by just introduce those three to that basic beginner language learners, it really helps them to be more confident and motivates them to start to ask or start to talk with the teacher. The one on the right side, this is for the math conversation starter. So in the math class, we have a lot of discussion when we get to upper grades and also the lower grades, but upper grades, it get more complicated. So when students are asked a question, they are not just asking 为什么, why, or what is it? They are asking more. So that's where we provide more sentence starters, or I would say conversation starters for mathematical discussion. So the first one is that, why do you use this strategy? Or how did you get to this answer? Which operation did you use? Is it 加法, 减法, 乘法, or 除法? Why is this answer? Can you prove your answer? So is there anyone use a different strategy? So there is a lot of conversation happening, which those sentences really not only help our students to build meaningful conversation about the math content, but also prepare them, help them to have more in-depth conversation in the Chinese literature class if we are doing any research project. Okay, so here we are moving on to our leveled questioning prompts and cues. So when we are teaching students to start doing reading, we're also help them to prepare for their writing. The reading and the writing are always interconnected. So as I mentioned earlier, we talk about the basic components of narrative writing. So 时间, 人物, 地点, 事件, 还有主旨. So we also want students to be able to summarize at the end what is the main point. So here, this is actually from Yu 老师, Yu 早和老师. If I don't know if anyone have worked with Yu 老师, amazing language educator, and also she's having her own consultant. So she came to the state of Delaware many years ago, helped our immersion programs. So I start to embed it the color coded. So student has here on the left, we can see student has each one of them has a bag. So we use this when they are doing small group guided reading with me. So when we are reading a book, I encourage them to use a different highlighter to highlight different parts of the narrative reading or writing components in the book, or they are looking at a different book or different passage. So after students get their information filled in the organizer, they are more clear about the parts of the book. And when they start their own writing, they are aware of how they should build upon. So they need to have some main character, and then they pick their location. So this graphic organizer used for both reading and writing. And here in the middle, when I give reading comprehension questions, we have students who are already proficient at their level. So they can quickly, they don't even need to highlight, they can quickly tell you where it is and what they come up with based on the question. But also we do have struggling students who probably even have a hard time, like they can find the answer, but they don't know how to describe or interpret it in the correct order to tell, share with their partner or share with a class. So that's where in the middle here, so this is a little bit differentiated. So I actually guide students to tell them how to properly communicate about their answer. So here for the first question, it's from our Mandarin Matrix book. It said, when did they get to Canada? So when students answer the question, I give them the prompt. So it says on page what? They put in the page number. So for example, it said in page 9. And then it said, the author said. So this is where students can use a highlighter to highlight the answer. And then if they cannot paraphrase or summarize what happened in the book, they can just say, according to the author said, blah, blah, from the book. And then it said, therefore, I think they get to Canada at what time or on what date. So that's where students can fill in the blank, and they can follow this sentence to be able to share with their partner in small group or share with the class. So this is one way we help our struggling students. And for the student who, as we said, we also want to challenge, who are already at the target level of their proficiency, but we also want to challenge them. So for the student who are a little bit higher achieving, instead of just filling in the graphic organizer or doing a highlight, I ask them to type up the complete sentence to answer the questions. So here, as you can see, they are not only giving short phrases. So this is one of the work from my student Mason. So Mason actually typed up complete sentence to tell me what happened in different part of the story. And here they also need to use sentence connectors, which, you know, the one we said earlier. So not only, but also if, because, therefore. So that's where I ask my little bit higher achieving student to show me more based on their language proficiency. So that's how we differentiate. Okay, so that is actually all I have for today. We were planning to end at 15, and then we have the question and answer time. But here I want to show you guys some resources I have posted in my Teachers Pay Teachers. They are all free, so you don't have to pay anything. And you can download both the Chinese and English version. So here, anyone give me a thumbs up if you can see my Teachers Pay Teachers page? Or if you can respond in the chat, let me know if you can see this. I just stopped my slides. So here, this is my Teachers Pay Teachers slides. So in here, if you go down at the bottom here, you can see, oh, thank you, Liu 老师. All right, so here you can see that these are different resources. So this one, it's a get to know you activity. Student can get up, move around. So as earlier we said, physical movements as one of the scaffolding strategies. And this is one I said earlier for the visual representation in the classroom. So students, you can post those or print this to give students, so help them to differentiate. And those are basically YCT level 1 and HSK level 1 character. Yes, I will post the link right now after I introduce the resources. So here, down here, we have morning meeting questions. So it's about 40 questions every single day. You can do this to build your classroom community. All the questions are in Chinese. And then we also have some resources for math in Chinese and also in English. And also the sentence starter I talked earlier, we have both language, and then I have some social emotional learning posters, the clip chart we talked about earlier, and also crafts. So this one, it's a numbers in my life. This is the one we showed earlier as one of the graphic organizer you can use in your classroom, even for middle school, high schoolers. It's really fun. And here I have a couple more pages of different resources. So I think hopefully this can benefit you guys. We have the subject, the class objective, so you can post this in class. Your daily objective, so those are some templates, and then some basic anchor charts you can put in the classroom for your beginners. Here it's for the character. So if I don't know the character, what can I do? So we have the options. You use a dictionary, you go online, you write opinion, you draw it, or you ask a friend. So it's a lot of stuff I have accumulated for years after teaching immersion, and they're all free. Some of these are manipulative, so you can cut them apart and doing a fall events for just for fun, but they also review the numbers in Chinese with some basic math skills. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat. Let's see, okay. Let's see. All right. Go back to the first book. All right, immersion. So it's called the immersion at Mathland. And it has my name, Qin Lao Shi, on the chart. All right. So I just put the chat. I just put the link in the chat. All right. So Liu Lao Shi, I think this is a part I have for today. And if anybody want to ask a question, feel free if you want to unmute or post in the chat. I'm gonna come back to the slides.
金老师，
你好。
哎，你好。So what I did I was doing Star Talk with kindergartners and first graders this summer, and what I also found is I played with as a sensory item shaving cream.
Oh yes,
but I just wanted to put that out there as a fun but messy.
Yes, I like it. It is a little bit messy, but the kids really enjoying just having the fun parts.
Right.
And I know the other one is have a Ziploc bag, and you put the slime. I think they also put the slime in a Ziploc bag, and then just close it, and the student can use it to write Chinese characters. So definitely the shaving cream and the slime in the Ziploc bag, I think both are really fun and really engaging for our little ones. I totally agree. Thank you for sharing, Nina.
You're welcome. 不客气。
好，大家如果还有问题，可以unmute，就是有什么东西你觉得还有就是希望大家也提一些建议，你觉得有什么东西可以改进的。然后呢，因为我每年就是在做这些资源的时候，其实我自己也在想有什么能改进，也会改一些东西。所以大家如果觉得有什么的建议呢，也请大家放在 chat 里，或者呢就是 unmute 告诉我，谢谢。
老师，请问你刚才做的 escape room 这个，说是用叫 deck toy 做是吗？这个有什么比较简易的方法来快速的就能玩吗？能老师就能够操作吗？
就是我问一下，是李老师是李老师吗？还是哪一位老师？不知道您的名字。就是我现在给你看一下这个屏幕上，我给你看一下这个 deck toy，我觉得它是稍微简单一些。我就是说一下，我看其他有的外语老师，他们呢是会把那些 task，他们是会打印出来，然后贴在教室的不同地方，然后他们是那样玩的。我觉得那样就是打出来贴，我反倒觉得就是要准备很多，所以我没有做那种，但是那种其实也很有意思，就是我看他们有的人是会贴在桌子底下一个，椅子底下一个，然后藏在那个垃圾桶的后面，就是放在不同的地方一些问题，然后把教室的灯关掉，然后让学生拿一个 flashlight 在教室里去找，就是找这些问题，然后解答这些问题。我觉得这样其实也蛮有意思的，或者就是他们会用那种荧光的那种手链儿，然后让学生戴上，我觉得那个也比较 engaging。但是那个里面的问题，你可能就是得自己花时间去把它准备好。我觉得 deck toy 就是如果你在网上做的好处，就是他们是在教室，但是呢，你的很多东西可能就是现成的。我给你看一下，这个就是大概如果你进到 deck toy，它大概是一个这样的样子，然后你可以设计不同的这个地图，或者你可以选它有那种做好的。然后这里我们有词汇记忆，还有词语配对，还有选择题、写句子、连线，还有排序，就是有不同的问题。学生需要进到这个里边，你可以让他们几个人一组回答。我觉得这个的好处就是说，它里面很多是现成的，你可能马上改完之后，今天上课就可以用。然后它相当于是做完一个算通一个关，才能进入下一个。它不能说 skip 掉，然后直接到那个最后的就是那个最后的关卡。所以我觉得这个就是比较快速一点。但是在教室里现场玩的那种，就是如果你是捡了东西呀、贴呀、布置呀，那个确实是更有意思。但是可能就是在准备问题的这个上面，得需要老师花一些心思去设计适合你那节课、那节教学目的的那些问题。但是我觉得网上呢，它可能就是图一个我们就是效率比较高，就是老师的准备时间会少一点。我是这么觉得。
是的，就不需要老师要准备很久，然后这个老师先容易学吗？
我觉得就是我建议，我当时看的时候，我是先上那个 YouTube，我就搜 deck toy tutorial，然后我就看了个，然后他讲了一下，然后我刚进去的时候，我没有自己先做。我建议您就是进去之后先搜一下什么 Chinese 什么，就是什么Chinese 拼音 Chinese 什么，然后你先用别人的先试一下，因为如果有别人做好那种现成的，尽量就你先自己不要做，然后等你就是
那
玩过两三个熟悉之后，你可能你觉得
如果
已
用
经比较
别人的，可以 copy 到自己的 account
可以，
是吗？还是
可以，
可以
就是它上面
？OK，
那些你可以 copy 到自己的里边，然后你可以改动。我刚开始的时候我没有
哦
改，因为我怕我改错，我就直接，然后它会有一个 preview，就是你可以自己先玩一遍，你可以自己先体
哦
验一下学生就是到时候玩的时候是什么样的一个流程，然后你再
，OK，
觉得可以了，你可以再发给学生，你可以把别人
哦，
的就 copy 到你自己的那个 account。
然后学生需要register 吗？需要注册吗？account 吗
他不要注册一个网站，一般是就是你会发给他这个
？Link，
就
啊
就这里，它有一个这个 link，你把 link 发给他，他 enter 进去之后就可以开始玩了。
，I see，all right，OK，Thank you。有您的联系方式吗？如果我玩有问题，可以问你一下。
好的，好，我放在 chat 里啊。
好，谢谢。
没关系。对，我就是建议，就是每次我玩新的 app，我一般都会去YouTube 上先看一下大家的那种攻略。我觉得就是很多美国老师他们每一个网站都做了很多 tutorial，然后其实非常有帮助，而且解释的都非常的详细。我就按他那个一步一步去做。然后老师们如果还有什么问题的话，或者什么建议，也请大家多多发言，然后也可以放在 chat 里。我看刚才有一个老师分享，他说，我们可以用那个 homemade Play-Doh with shampoo or conditioner with cornstarch。这个好酷，这个我没有做过，这个是我们应该是可以用它练字，对吧？我觉得这个也很酷。那个 Pinterest 上，不知道大家有没有看，Pinterest 上有很多就是跟小朋友做的活动，其实我们中文课也是可以用的。我刚才分享的那几个，其实很多也是我之前在Pinterest 上看到的，然后在班里就是在班里做过 一些活动。好，谢谢老师。好的。那如果我看大家好像没有什么问题，那我就先 stop share 了，刘老师可以吧？
可以，秦老师。
好的。
对，大家有问题的话还可以继续问，我们还有一点时间，估计有的在消化，我觉得很有意思。
就是讲的有点稍微太快了。
李老师，谢谢秦老师，我觉得特别有收获。我是一个高中的中文老师，我一直就是对我来说很困扰我的是一个问题，我感觉我自己每次上课学新词花很多时间，就学新词讲新词。我不知道您对这个有什么建议？是让学生快速的把新词学一遍，然后给他很多时间去用这些活动来练习呢，还是花一些时间在解释每一个新字，就字的构成啊、意义啊，或者每个字的练习上？
我觉得就是一般我们在讲这个词语的时候，我们先要就是一般我会先想清楚哪些是里边有我的词汇字。如果是有词汇字的这些，我肯定是一定是用上课的时间去给他们解释做练习。但是如果是3会字其他那种，我不会上课再多余花时间专门去讲解。一般我们会先 front load， 我会提前把这个我们要学的这些 vocabulary 放在 Quizlet 里，提前会放在他们的那个班的 account 里，让他要提前去preview。然后呢，我们还有一些游戏会在每天就是 morning work 的时候，我会让大家提前去做这些游戏。然后因为他们刚开始做游戏的时候，要强化他对这个字的音和这个字的意思的这个理解，所以在做这个的时候呢，我是让他们手上拿着那个vocabulary list，然后呢玩这个游戏。我不会强调说你必须要去看 word wall， 因为在他初学阶段，我需要是强化他这个肌肉的这个记忆，然后等我们这个课已经就是书开始教着了，他已经对词已经很熟悉了，他们在玩游戏的时候，我不会让他拿这个 vocabulary list， 但是一般我会先 front load， 提前把这个发回家，然后呢我会检查，因为我 login in Quizlet 我可以看见他们到底做了多久。这个我有配，因为我觉得他那个会员1年是才35，就是跟刚才说的什么 Book Creator 呀 Deck Toy 比起来，我觉得还是比较teacher friendly 的一个 price。 然后在做游戏的时候，等一下我给大家看一些，就是我不知道有多少老师会用 Arch Chinese 嘛，我是用 Arch Chinese 做很多游戏，我觉得是很有帮助的。就是它的游戏，我觉得你买它一个 membership， 其实或者可以几个老师分享一下，然后我觉得是非常有 benefit 的。我给大家看一下等一下我找一找，很快我给大家看几个例子，就是它的是什么游戏啊？这里有一个游戏，就是我们在教室玩的蛮多。哎，等一下我移过来，麻烦问一下有没有老师，就是很快给我一个 thumbs up， 可以看见这个游戏吗？可以。老师，好，这个就是一个那个他们英文叫那个 snake and ladder， 然后呢，就是他要扔骰子，他要玩，他在玩的时候呢，刚开始的时候我会要求他要说，还要把这个写下来，所以这个就是为了强化他在做游戏的时候，在 morning work 早上进去玩游戏。然后我觉得，如果老师你的就是看你的那个 goal， 就是我们现在最重点的，如果就是让他要记住怎么说，那我们可以先不用写，我们就是让他重复去说，然后玩这个游戏，这个是其中一个游戏。然后我再给大家看一个游戏，这个游戏也是Arch Chinese 的，我觉得这个也蛮好的，就是它是一个 puzzle， 然后你把它剪开，我会把它过速，然后呢这一套孩子们其实每年都能用上3、4年都可以重复用，就它不会就是不是说你每年都要去重复做，我觉得那样很浪费时间。我一般都会做一套，做上4套，然后呢重复的可以用，然后它拼完之后就会变成一个这个样子。所以他们在拼的时候呢，我会需要他们说出这个词的拼音，然后你可以给他一个 vocabulary list， 就是我觉得通过这些不同的游戏吧，就是可以让学生很快的去记住我们的这些4会字或者是一些词。然后这是他其中另一个游戏，就是在下面他会把这些学生需要学的词告诉你，学生要在这个里边找，然后把它圈出来。就是我觉得 front load 的这些游戏和词语， 然后能很快的帮助他。但是这个量老师也得控制一下，就是说我的 goal 到底是为了让他记住怎么写，还是只是为了让他很快记住怎么说？因为他记住怎么说，他认识这个字儿，我在读书的时候他是更有效率一些。所以这是我之前在教词语方面，我觉得一些就是除了那些电脑方面的我们大家都会用的呀，什么 GameKit、Quizlet 之外，我觉得这个Arch Chinese 还蛮有帮助的。然后我把网站给大家放在这个 chat 里，我觉得老师们可以看一看。你也可以买那种月的，就是说我就买，我记得应该是是按月分的吧，你就不用买1年，你可能就2个月多做一点，然后全部存下来。对，就是这个网站，然后我放在 chat 里了，大家可以看一看。然后我把这个游戏先关掉，就它这个里面游戏还真的是特别多。我们学生还挺喜欢玩。如果你买它的付费的，它有在线的游戏，也特别好玩，就是那种特别动画的，是练字的。然后我们学生很喜欢玩那个。我一般就是在我们课文开始教之后呢，我们有时候上课中间我会让他们玩一下，也是为了复习我们的字词。
我觉得秦老师，您是不是可以做一期把所有的这些教学平台汇总的那个讲座？会非常有用。对，因为我是付费常年的订阅买 Quizlet 的会员、Word 的会员，还有这个卡户还有这个 Gimki 就是说今天知道这个Arch Chinese， 还有刚才那个玩密室逃脱的那个游戏，
那个 Deck Toy，
对这个是以前没有接触过的非常有收获，感谢。
谢谢吴老师，互相交流。大家有什么其他的好的网站？我觉得现在好的网站真的特别多。还有就是，我发现了那个之前还发现了很多免费打练习纸的网站，还有数学练习纸、中文练习纸特别好，也是其他老师。所以老师们要是有什么其他的好的网站，也可以分享一下。然后下次如果还有机会的话，也希望能跟我们CLTA 还有我们Nebraska 继续合作。然后呢，也希望能和其他老师更多学到一些教学资源，还有一些你在实践中觉得比较实用高的一些干货，也请希望老师们多多分享。谢谢老师。我刚才看这个 Nina， 然后他分享这个 Purple Culture， 对 Purple Culture， 我让学生有时候用它打字也非常好，因为他们回家了的话不能带学校的电脑，所以他们在家里用自己家的电脑，可以在这个 Purple Culture 上练习打字，练中文打字。我觉得这个网站也非常棒，谢谢老师分享。
刚才秦老师说，您刚才说那个练习纸那个网站，能跟我们分享吗？
练习纸，来让我看看我的微信。等一下，我得找找，我忘了是微信还是我是从我儿子的，我儿子也在中文项目，因为我们就发现他COVID的，就是完了之后上幼儿园跟1年级就是中文退步了，然后他也开始上野门儿。我发现他的老师发的东西特别棒，然后呢发的家庭作业上，我就发现那个网站特别好。等一下，我现在看一眼，在手机上看看是这个网站吗？看看这个网站叫什么？好，我放在 chat 里大家可以去看一看，是免费打练习纸的。Right， 我定一下，不要打错了。Mandarin.com。好了，我放在 chat 里了，老师可以看一下。
好的，好的，谢谢。
这个是打各种中文练习纸的。然后它上面有 HSK，有那个什么 sports， 就是不同类型的动物的什么的，还特别多。老师可以介绍一下您的项目 schedule 和使用教材的大约情况吗？好的，好，那我说一下，就是我们项目 K 到3年级用的是 Better Immersion Better Chinese。我们项目从4年级开始往上，我们用的是 Mandarin Matrix， 然后 Mandarin Matrix 我们4年级用的是Intermediate 1的上半部分，然后我们今年是第1年，5年级我们用 Intermediate 1的下半部分的书，我们之前呢用的是Intermediate 2的书，然后我们用了几年，发现确实还是太有难度了， 然后所以我们改了，然后这是我们的教材方面的，然后我们的 schedule 呢，一般就是schedule 的话，就是我有2个班，然后一般就是半天和我，然后中午会交换，然后另一个班，然后我是负责教中文和数学还有科学，然后我搭档就是教英文，但是他会帮我辅助教一些数学或者科学，就是根据我当前单元的这个需求，我会每个星期跟他更新，然后他会在他那边帮我再辅助教一些。笔写和打字，哇，这个笔写和打字真的是我痛的来源，因为我要教学生打字，然后呢，我教我自己儿子写字，所以呢，我真的是，然后我给大家推荐的一个就是点阵控笔吧，大家在淘宝多看看，这是我陪我儿子练字自己总结出来的，我觉得点阵控笔还挺有用的。它有点类似，就是孩子们学英文写字母的时候，最开始你看它会有那个点儿，告诉你写 B 的时候先写这个数，然后写这个半圆，它会有这种虚线的点。然后点阵控笔呢，其实我们是借鉴了的那个的一个想法出来的，我觉得这个不错。然后我建议大家在淘宝看，我是买了一些国内的练习纸，我觉得跟这边的我不能说有差距，我是觉得想法其实也有借鉴，因为我们在美国教中文的时候，我不知道大家有没有就是注意到一个点，老师们是不是田字格大小是不一样的？有没有老师注意过这个点？你有时候用大田字格，有时候用小田字格，是不是？其实这个对学生还蛮有影响的。我之前没意识到，是我跟我儿子在练中文的时候，我发现就是我给他练惯小田字格了，然后呢，如果有别人给他一个大田字格，他的那个 spatial awareness 就有点被影响，然后你会发现他写不好，他需要重新时间去适应。但是如果我们看一下国内我们的小学人教，不管是人教版还另一个版是哪个我忘了，反正2个版本嘛，国内的语文教材2个版本。他们的田字格其实大部分是统一的，都是那么小，没有说像我们在这边可以调大调小。所以我之前在教1年级，我其实没有意识到这个问题。我现在就是在就是监督我孩子做家庭，在让他练的时候，我发现其实这个问题不能说它严重，但是我觉得我们老师要有这个意识，就是说我们控制好这个田字格，我们也不要给它太大，因为其实我们传统的田字格不需要那么大。然后呢，还有就是这个虚线的问题，有的老师练4个格子，对不对？有的老师是中间还有这种 diagonal。然后我觉得，我们最开始的时候啊，这个笔画一定要练。我在陪我孩子练的时候，我没有刚开始直接练字，我是下载或者是在淘宝买那种只练点儿、撇、竖、弯、勾的这种练习纸。我觉得这个其实我们就不管是普通这个 Word Language Chinese 还是英文，其实heritage learn， 我们其实都要先开始练笔画，笔画练好了再开始练字。就是练字的时候，我们要强调一下，它是上下结构、左右结构，全包还是半包。这讲过之后，我发现他的字真的会写得更漂亮一些。这个是我真的是陪我自己的孩子练字总结出来一些，不能说血和泪，但是也是经验。所以希望能帮到老师。如果老师们觉得在写字这个上面，有什么好的，也请大家分享一下。然后打字的话，我觉得就是打字的话，如果要短时间出效果，真的就是你需要他去高频的复习那些声母的词。就是如果我刚才回到这一页，等一下，我把这个放大一点，大家可以看到，在这个右下角这里，我会把这些声母开头的字总结出来，我需要他不停的去复习，去自己去打，自己去写这个拼音。因为就是如果你的时间足够，你的目标今年就是把拼音教会，你不需要做这个。但是我发现就是我在5年级，我们之前 Apple 考试，我的孩子是有打字考试的，就是 writing 考试，但是是打的要打长篇。然后他们上来的时候，很多孩子拼音其实还是没记住的，他拼不对，所以短时间内如果要出效果，你确实需要他去背一些这些高频词的拼音，然后呢，要让他要很快的要开始打字，而且打字量确实得 push 一下，如果不 push 的话，短时间内我觉得很出效果。我觉得刚才这个老师问的这个问题真的很好。对，我现在是不教笔写，但是我在1年级的时候会教笔写。 然后打字我在5年级是要教的，因为我们是 Apple 考试之前是这样，是3年级他们只考听说，就是那个他们听，然后呢就是录音的那个 Apple，然后他们只考这个，然后年级他们也只考这个，但是到我们5年级就变成了要考听说，还要考 writing， 就是打字，所以就是压力很大。然后今年我们变了，我们开始考 STEM， 所以我也是第1年学习这个 STEM 考试的一些，希望能总结一些，然后跟其他老师也在取经。之前我们是 Apple 考试。然后我看老师说有一个 website 打开，是刚才其他老师分享的是吗？好的，好，那我就先停，我就先把这个分享停了。
还有一个老师说想看一下您的那个 slides 第4页。
第4页，好，等一下啊，我把这个再打开一下。我看看啊，第4页，第4页是这一页吗？是这个4个吗？还是说是这个后面的第4页？要不老师可以告诉我是那一页上有什么？这个是我的 slides 的第4页，就是我们的4个这个，是这一页。OK， 我把它放大一下，如果老师需要截屏的话。好，就是我们的这个4个 supports。
还有孟老师，您分享的那个网站能再分享一下吗？我们都打不开，谢谢您啊。
对我也不知道为什么，其实我这是付费的，我也不知道今天为什么会是这样。平时的话，我一打开应该可以的，而且我以前打过很多，然后它都会储存在里面的。我不知道是今天那个网站出问题了，就是你可以先 save 一下，可能以后可能会好。我也不知道今天为什么，我刚才试了很多方式都也是进不去。
好。
对，这个很好用的，它上面可以给你打拼音，然后呢，这个字，然后字你可以决定大小，就是如果小一些呢，你可以比如一页打个9个字，甚至10个字，它上面可以设定，比如你是2号、3号、4号、5号，这样的话就是你自己可以试一下。然后呢，如果越大的话呢，那么一行里面打的字就会少一些，比如说打个6个、7个。如果你要是字小一些呢，那么它的就是竖的可以多一些，横的也会多一些。而这个很便宜，1年可能也最多10块钱，很便宜的。我也不知道今天为什么，就平时的话我进去应该一点问题没有，今天不知道那个出什么问题了。
好，那我先把这个我先停了，这个就是刚才的那个第4页。
谢谢。
没关系，没关系，孟老师。好的。我看刚才吴老师有分享了一个，谢谢吴老师，也是一个很好的，可以帮我们就是练字的一个网站，还可以做笔画谢谢郑老师。郑老师是我们桃李的老师，对不对？我刚才不确定，我没有说错吧？是我们桃李的老师，耶！我们桃李的老师。
非常感谢秦老师，我今天网站我那个网络特别不好，我都开不了视频，不好意思。非常感谢你的分享，真的是特别棒。
没有，希望能帮到大家。我还在想我准备的东西够不够，所以
挺好的，
也谢谢大家。今天周6还能抽空来参加这个，大家都很辛苦，希望大家周末可以有时间跟家人或者自己能够好好休息一下。
我们今天到场的老师不少，算是盛况，是吧？20多个老师，
谢谢。谢谢刘老师。
谢谢你。
好的，那如果大家没有什么问题的，这里对。
还有什么？辛勤老师在吗？我们还需要有别的。
没有，大家如果没有问题了，我们就可以结束了。非常感谢秦老师今天的讲座，真的是干货满满，我们真的是很有收获，谢谢。
对，我们以后还请秦老师再来哈，秦老师有时间的话。
也非常感谢秦老师无私的分享，真的今天收获非常大。谢谢。
好，我们就
老师们都好谦虚。
谢谢秦老师，真的是无私的分享，谢谢。那就到这里，感谢大家的参与，我们就 过周末去吧。谢谢。
好的，
好的，
好，那那个刘老师，我之后再